All righty, welcome to Unsafe Spaces USA, episode number 4. Brian Stann, Randy Cross here with you. I guess my first question to you, Brian, has got to be, okay, what time is it in your body and what day is it?
Man, I thought I beat the jet lag. I did the smart thing on Monday when I left New Zealand and didn't sleep the whole flight. It was 13 hours from New Zealand to LAX and didn't sleep during my 5-hour layover, and then didn't sleep on the 5-hour flight from LAX to here. But man, it hit me yesterday. So I'm not sure what time it is, but oh gosh, definitely feeling it this morning.
You're supposedly the jet lag's not as bad if you don't sleep.
No, I mean, it's just a matter of when you're going to get tired. So I mean, I landed here in Atlanta at 8 p.m. So by not sleeping that entire flight and staying up for the 28 hours of travel, I was tired. By the time I got home, I went to bed. I went to bed at 11:30 at night. And so the idea there is if I could sleep through the night, my first night home, then Tuesday night I was fine. I slept at night, got tired when I should get tired, but it was really yesterday where I was just exhausted by really about 7 p.m. And then I woke up this morning at 3. And I was wide awake for 2 hours before I could fall back asleep. So it's one of those situations, just when you think you beat it, your body's still off system, especially, being in Rio de Janeiro the weekend before. So it's been a little bit of a world tour, but I'm kind of getting used to it.
Would you have like a day and a half in between?
1 day.
1 day between getting back from Brazil to going to New Zealand?
Yep. Flew back from Brazil Monday morning. I think I landed at 6 a.m. And then I left Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to go to New Zealand. So, I mean, this is being a contractor for the UFC, and then you just kind of wait around. Like, I'll wait around, and then, hey, can you work this weekend in September? Can you work this weekend in October? It's just kind of how it goes. Like, yeah, I can, or no, you can't. Mm-hmm. And you just don't know where the heck it's going to be.
That's great. Well, how about the fights?
No, the fights were great. I mean, in Rio de Janeiro, Max Holloway put on an incredible performance. I mean, it's hard to think of a fighter who's fighting better than him right now. He's up there at the top echelon. He's on a 9-fight win streak. Knocks out Jose Aldo in the third. And just recently, just this week, Andre Pedneras, the head coach for Jose Aldo, came out and said, well, hey, Jose Aldo had a leg injury going into the fight. That was a big question during the fight. Is Jose Aldo, why isn't he using leg kicks? Mm-hmm. And is he going to use them leading into it? Because in the last 3 fights for Jose Aldo, he hasn't kicked much, and it's been historically a great weapon for him. His leg kicks are devastating. They break guys down over time, even if he just lands a few of them. And when you look at Max Holloway's last 5 fights, the one thing that has landed on him very consistently are leg kicks. Right. In all of his fights, specifically his fight against Ricardo Lamas. So me being an analyst doing my film study, I thought, okay, for Jose Aldo to win, one of the things he needs to do, he needs to jab effectively, he needs to leg kick. Didn't do it. So a lot of people question, what was the strategy coming in here for Aldo? Why wasn't he leg kicking?
What kind of a leg injury was it? Or they didn't get too specific?
They didn't get too specific. I mean, I've got no reason to not believe them. I think they finally came out and said that just because people were really questioning them and their strategy. Why, when you're as talented an athlete and a fighter as Jose Aldo, why go into a fight with Max Holloway just using a limited skill set? Yeah. He didn't attempt any takedowns, and all he did was box in a mixed martial arts fight where Max Holloway utilizes everything available to him. And Aldo was winning. Rounds 1 and rounds 2, I thought, went to him. But there was a big momentum shift at the end of round 2 where Holloway dropped his hands, started taunting Jose Aldo, which we've never seen anybody do before, and then just came out and devastated him in round 3 and knocked him out in his hometown. It was tough. And, I walked in the octagon, and in title fights and main events, we'll typically interview both fighters. Mm-hmm. Max immediately says, and you always interview the winner first. He tells me, nope, interview Jose first. Interview Jose first. It's his hometown. I look over. Jose Aldo is sitting against the fence, face in his hand, crying his eyes out. He's just been knocked out. That's the last thing I want to do is go interview him, and go do that right now. And I tell Max, I can't go over there right now. He just got knocked out. Yeah. Right? He's severely disappointed. Yeah, it was a devastating
loss. He ate some pretty good punches.
He did. So obviously, by the time I was done interviewing Max, Jose Aldo didn't want to be interviewed. I looked over, saw his coach saying this right here. Hey, look, we don't want you to interview us. So Anyways, then moving on to New Zealand. What a country, first of all. Luckily, I had a little bit of time I could carve out to actually see the place. Mm-hmm. Fights were phenomenal. I mean, a ton of finishes. In the main event, Mark Hunt beats Derek Lewis. And Derek Lewis really had a suspicious last 2 rounds of the fight where he was standing tall, skirting the fence, looked like he was really tired, but wasn't breathing heavy. And after the fight, when I interviewed him, he talked about having some lower back issues. Being someone who's had lower back issues before, what he was doing is consistent with those symptoms. And I thought it was an excellent stoppage by the referee. I mean, when you're fighting a guy like Mark Hunt and you no longer have it, and you're seizing up and you're not defending yourself well, referee Mark Goddard just got in there and said, okay, this is over. This fight's over. Devastation's on the way for Derek Lewis, and saved him some punishment. Derek Lewis didn't even protest the stoppage. I talked to Mark Hunt yesterday on my Sirius show, and even he said, look, I thought the stoppage was great because I was getting ready to turn up the heat and give this guy some really, really heavy shots. So I'm always in favor of that. Mm-hmm. When you could tell the fight is over, this guy's going to lose, and you stop. I mean, he was taking punishment, but it was going to get worse.
How consistent is that in the UFC? Because that's something. It's as inconsistent as it is in boxing.
I mean, it is. We saw in Rio de Janeiro, we saw Mario Yamasaki, longtime referee of the UFC. I mean, he let a fight go. I'm forgetting the exact one. He let a fight go too long. I mean, the guy was nearly dead. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where, hey, look, guys, stop the damn fight. Yeah. I've had to yell in the microphone before for some of these refs to stop the fight times. And look, I say this with the utmost respect for that. It is a tough job. If I'm in a broadcast and I make a mistake, there are opportunities for me to correct myself at times. And my job is not easy.
Right.
And we take a lot of criticism. But for these referees, it's right then and there. There's no replay for them unless the fight's already been stopped, and then they can look at it after the fact. And it's only in places they allow it. They got to make that call right then and there, and fighters get super mad at them if they think the fight stopped too early. We've seen fights where it looks like the guy's done. He comes back and knocks the other guy out. So, I criticize Mario Yamasaki for that specific fight in Rio. He's had other ones like that. But I understand at times where they let guys go, because I was certainly a fighter. So, look, make sure you warn me before you stop the fight. That's my big thing. Mm-hmm. Big John McCarthy is the best referee in the sport. He is very vocal in that octagon. Hey, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to stop this. Defend yourself. Fight back. I'm going to stop this. When a referee's doing that and the guy's not listening and not responding and he stops it, there's no excuses.
You ever had any inkling to at least try that just to see what it's like to be in there?
No, and here's the thing. Here's the reason why. People complain about the referees an awful lot. They don't make much at all to do that. They're highly criticized in that role. I mean, they get blasted by fans, fighters all the time. They're traveling all around the world just like I am. I mean, they're in New Zealand. They're in Brazil for a low-paying, thankless job. They do it because they love it. They love the sport, and they enjoy refereeing the sport. Not for me. I love what I do in terms of analyzing the sport much more.
Yeah. I imagine you do. It was fun. Both your broadcasts were great.
They were fun. In the second show in New Zealand, I worked with John Gooden, who I've never worked with before. He's a British guy who typically works with Dan Hardy. It was his second shot at being on Fox Sports 1. I thought he did very, very well. It's not easy, as you know, when you just work with someone new out of nowhere. But in Rio, it was my first time working in a 3-man booth, which I think is really challenging. Yeah. There's a lot of talking.
Did that go about as well or about like you expected?
Yeah, there's still some times where we finish talking. I'm like, oh my goodness, we've been talking for like 3 minutes straight during this fight. We gotta find a better rhythm. It's just gonna take time. Fans are just gonna be patient with that. Mm-hmm. It's certainly not our choice. The only positive I see in a 3-man booth is that hopefully it will give me more opportunities to work. If there's one thing that will stop me from doing this long term, it's the inconsistency and the unknown of the job. I'm a father of 3. Mm-hmm. And so for me, you've got to be able to plan an income, plan a lifestyle, know that you could pay your bills. And when you're on a contract where there's no guarantees how much you're going to work, you're just told, hey, when you work, this is how much you make. You kind of wait around. They do a good job of keeping me very busy, and that's great, but none of that's guaranteed.
Right.
And so I'm appreciative of how busy they keep me. But I don't really know. I don't even know what I'm doing in October yet. Here we are, it's June.
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple months in advance. And at any given time, they could say, we don't want to use him as much. So there's some unknowns about the job that are dice rolling a little bit. And for someone like me who likes to be organized, that's not a comfortable feeling. Other people can just roll with that and be confident, they love me, I do a good job in this, I'll keep getting booked. I like to have things a little bit more set in stone than that.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
We're talking about UFC and fighting and TV, and we've had the intrusion of kind of the real world here in the last day or so. This whole thing that went on in Arlington around the baseball game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now everybody knows there's a baseball game between the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress. They've been doing this for a long time. And we're not talking slow pitch softball. We're talking baseball. And yesterday a guy shows up and starts shooting. And thank God that Representative Steve Scalise is the majority whip. So he's the number 3 guy in Congress as far as control goes. And thank goodness he had a security detail with him. Because your average, I think if most people learned anything yesterday in the course of the last 24 hours, it's that not every congressman is guarded. No. Not every senator is guarded.
No.
And that's something that's good news, bad news.
Yeah.
In my mind. But this thing happens, and then people do what they do. Some go to a very somber. The president showed a side that he showed quite often of late, more of a somber presidential type of a tone, which was fantastic. More leaders should sort of try to do that on a more regular basis. It tends to tone this down because we've talked about this the last few shows. There's such a polarized, such a crazy atmosphere out there. And I really believe personally that it has to do with information. It has to do with, you talk about raising kids. Mm-hmm. You talk about, things like that. It's like it's the old saying for computers, garbage in, garbage out. They're not thinkers. And we get our information from so many different places. And these days it's kind of a fire hose. Yeah. And it has a real negative effect on some people. And there's no recourse out there for anybody that wants to feed constant this. We've talked about Russia, mm-hmm. and whatnot. And then on the other side is, it's fake news. It's, who are they supposed to believe? And there's people out there, and you're getting things together or issues together here where you're talking gun rights, you're talking mental health issues, you're talking media / censorship, people will start saying it is. But there's got to be something that we can do as a group, as Americans, that can just turn the steam down a little bit on the vitriol that comes out of this stuff.
It's tough. I know. It's tough. When you look throughout history, I think that the bipolar atmosphere is certainly not unique. It's existed in plenty of other times, especially in American history, if not all the time. Yeah. But it's just the way and how fast information flows now that is just really new, to where some of the passions are different. If you wanted to get information back in the days of Roosevelt and Taft, you had to read long form articles on, the coal strike, the railroad monopolies, the oil and gas monopolies that existed. You had to actually invest some real time. Mm-hmm. Now it's just it's just little one-liner tidbits to infuriate people. And the more negative, the better, because that's what sells. At the end of the day, if people ask me all the time, do you think any of these networks are ever going to stop? No, because their main goal is to drive revenue, right? And somebody said, all these stations, it's just impeach, because so many of them are liberal, and then, Fox News is just all for them. So the last thing any of these networks want is President Trump to be impeached. And that's just being honest. The heads of these networks do not want that to happen. Mm-hmm. Even if MSNBC or CNN are saying it all the time, they're making so much money. Their ratings are higher than, I got to think their ratings are higher than they have been under other administrations, because every single week there's something new that is massive for them to report on, mm-hmm. With President Trump. And I just don't see that existing if for some reason Pence becomes the president because Trump is impeached. But I don't know. In a free speech society, I don't know how we tone it down other than people boycotting, some of these networks that are just going to put out what they need to put out to get headlines, get people to click on articles, get people to tune into their shows. Vice having any responsibility to put out the truth.
Yeah, it wouldn't part of this, and this is maybe a little bit too simplistic, but when was the last time an argument or a conversation, whether it's a written conversation or an oral conversation, not go from 0 to 60 in like 2.3 seconds? You can say something about an opinion, and it's all of a sudden it's F you, go eat blank and die.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in between.
Nothing.
And if it's a protest, I would love once for two sides to show up in an argument and actually speak about it.
Yeah.
Now, being the unrealistic idiot that I am, I would expect to see things like that at Berkeley. I would expect to see things like that at Columbia. I'd expect to see that at UCLA. I'd expect that to see it, some of the real learning institutions.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere where it's those places. It's even more polarized, and differing opinions is not only not encouraged. It's almost there's a threat if you have it.
Yeah, and part of the problem is like these young men and women are used to having to respond in 140 characters. It's so many of their debates and opinions get pushed out online now, where you have a limited room to explain yourself. And in those forums, it is exactly what you said. If I pushed out an opinion on gun control, on yesterday's shooting, on anything political, you're going to see black and white responses. You're going to see people that are all for it, and then other people are just going to spit venom at you. Right? And if you flip sides, say something, both sides are guilty of it, right? It's wild. It's wild. And they take that right into any actual oral discussions they have as well. They take the same attitude that they have on social media. And I don't feel like the younger generation has the ability or the patience or just the mannerisms to sit down and have a real discussion, a calm debate on a subject where where both sides agree, hey, look, I agree to be enlightened here if you can prove me wrong. And I'm not going to be embarrassed. I'm going to be grateful if you can make me change my mind by educating me. Right? I mean, because that should be what we're all for.
Yeah.
Right? We all want to be right all the time.
I'm for baby steps. I would actually rather two people or two groups be able to have that conversation and at least recognize the other side's right to their opinion.
I agree.
Because we're not even close to that.
No, you're right. Yeah, I'm wishful thinking with the whole enlightenment piece. I took giant steps there, but it really is unfortunate. It's a frustrating time, obviously. It's a frustrating time just overall because every day it's venom from both sides to the point where it's just easier not to look at it, not to watch it. I prefer to read my news so I don't have to hear anybody's tone. I never read the comments underneath articles. And it's the way of the future right now with how fast information moves. Yeah. And it's not like it's new just to the Trump administration.
Back in the old days, your way of getting news was called newspapers.
Yeah.
You read the news, and if you wanted to delve into an opinion, in section C, about page 2 and 3, there were things called op-eds.
Yep.
Opinions and editorials.
Yeah.
And that's where you went for opinions. But everything else besides that was facts and news, and things just sort of feed your brain.
Yeah. It's amazing the lengths, the old school muckraker journalists used to go through to put out stories and facts. I mean, you read stories where they would work on one story for months. They would travel to the site, immerse themselves in the industry, collect facts, quotes, get documents. I mean, it's incredible the amount of work. Now, it's totally different when you read an article. I mean, it's completely different.
Well, we have a colleague of yours at Fox Sports, that Jay Glazer,
Yeah.
that is still to this day does something that a lot of journalists could learn from. And I know there will be some journalistic heads exploding out there. I'm saying something positive about Jay, but Jay's a guy that always has to double and triple confirm. And I mean, he's going to make sure when he reports something, he calls it scoopage and everything else. But he's born of that older way of thinking where it wasn't just, I mean, it's great to be first, but you got to be right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, him and, in the mixed martial arts community, Ariel Helwani is very similar. I mean, I've received texts from him plenty, where he has to verify something. If he doesn't verify it, he will not put it out there. And that's a tough industry to be in. And Jay, here's something people don't realize about Jay Glazer. Man, there aren't many people in this world who can keep a secret anymore. Everybody, I always say this, everybody has at least one person in their life who they're going to say, look, you can't tell anybody this, whether it's their spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, best friend.
Right.
That's the person they tell everything to. No matter how much you tell them not to tell somebody, they're going to tell that one person. So I understand when I tell somebody sensitive information, I understand that they have at least one person in their life like that. Jay's the only guy I know because I'm a person like that to him. I'm close with him. He'll tell me sensitive information about him personally, but he will never break that bond he has with the hundreds of people he communicates with. Mm-hmm. If you tell him this is a secret, man, it will not leave that vault when he locks it up. And that's how he makes his living. He has to be that way, and it's an impressive quality to have.
Yeah, Bill Walsh used to have a great, and this is my last little bit before we move along, but Bill Walsh used to have a great timeline he put up on the board every year during training camp. And it was based around doing interviews and never be a source and that sort of thing. And it was there was between you and me, exclusive, double secret, secret. When you hear these words, here's how long you have. Between you and me is a week. Double, and he'd have a timeline next to all these things. And he goes, you got to understand, there is nothing that is going to be a secret. Especially with a journalist. Yeah. It'll eventually come out. So here, just so you know, I'm just trying to educate you guys. Here's how long you have. If, my lips are sealed till death do us part, gives you about a month.
Yeah. Imagine if he was coaching now. Where now you've got guys Facebooking live, coaches in the locker room.
Yeah. I don't think he'd have been a huge fan of that.
No.
He'd have taken the simple approach. He'd have just blocked everything.
Jerry Rice wouldn't have done that?
He'd had a jammer.
Jerry Rice wouldn't have done something like that in today's day and age?
Who knows what Jerry would have done. Yeah. Hey, let's move on to some of our butt hurt of the week. The Golden State Warriors won the NBA title.
They sure did.
In 5.
Yeah.
Should have won it in 4, but LeBron and when you shoot 50% in a half and then at the end of the half you're down by 20-something, that's got to tell you something. You probably don't have much of a chance of winning that night. But they win it in 5. And is anybody really surprised that they're not going to visit the White House on their visit? They've decided, no. Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. It has become the new in thing. And look, it's tough. It's tough, and I think that at the same time that we look at it, and it's one of those things like, oh man, it's got to be something where this administration has got to scratch their head as well and wonder, man, why is this continuing, right? Why hasn't this calmed down yet? Mm-hmm. You've got. Look at the ethnicities represented here.
Oh yeah,
and obviously there's a large disconnect between that community and this administration of White House, and that's not something where you can just scratch. You could just kind of brush your chin off and just say whatever. They're wrong. Mm-hmm. No, you've got to be a leader and you've got to correct that issue. There's got to be something that's done there. And so it's unfortunate that they're not going to take advantage of that. I think that's a cool ritual, but I get it. After an election that just took place and some of the things that happened, I could see why they elect not to go there, because they know as well that their fans are going to rip them apart for going, and the country's so polarized that it's easier for them not to go and just stay out of politics.
Yeah. I having been there to the White House on one of those trips, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Yeah.
Literally, you get to go into the White House and, in the East Room, or what, I can't remember which room it is, where you're looking out over the back gardens and the Washington Monument. You stand there and you take your picture with the president. Everybody on the team, everybody in the organization takes a picture with the president. That's something you'll never, ever get to do again.
Yeah. It's incredible. I mean, I never got to do it at the Naval Academy.
Yeah.
I never did. When you win the Commander in Chief's trophy, they go there at the end of the year, and I would tell you that may happen. If enough of those athletes, and I will guarantee you at the Naval Academy, at Air Force Academy, and at West Point, I would bet you that there's a lot of athletes on those teams that don't want to go to the White House if they win next year. I will guarantee you there are some of those sentiments, probably mostly from the African American population on those teams. Mm-hmm. And whether I agree or disagree with them foregoing that opportunity, I understand why. I think there's a disconnect from this White House, and I think it's something that maybe should be looked at, and is something that they do need to care about. They've got more important things to do, but you can't totally just say, oh, this is dumb. You can't just completely write that off as ignorant or somebody who's just being mad because they may be a Democrat or whatnot.
Yeah.
Something we need to do there, in my opinion. I know there's going to be plenty of people who are very hardcore Republicans that disagree with me and say it's dumb, it's a radical idea, or it's immature. But you can't completely discount all of these people's opinions for continually not wanting to do this.
But again, it's not a black or a white issue.
No.
As far as there's a lot of gray. This is a gray.
A ton of gray.
This is a gray area.
A lot of gray there.
Somewhere down the middle where you got to sort of meet in the middle for that day or that time and say, okay, I recognize that, and you've got to recognize this, and here's how I feel. But as a group, we're still going to do this.
Yeah.
And I respect them. If as a group you decide you don't want to do this, great. As a group, don't go.
Yep.
I don't appreciate personally, or 15 guys suddenly say, well, I'm not going. That's just not right. But the whole team does it anyway. If you're in a team atmosphere, the team has to vote.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
If the team votes to go, you go.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And again, we always used to do it in the military. We would say, respect the position even if you didn't respect the person.
Yeah.
So, I had a company commander one time who I just did not respect. But I had to work my tail off for him, and I had to make sure that when I spoke about him to all the Marines I led, that I spoke about him in light of the position. Even though I didn't respect him, I spoke about him with the utmost respect because of my respect for the position. That was what was best for our unit. And I definitely get that. At the same time, though, when you look at this situation, who does the onus fall on to take the first step to correct the problem? I think the onus, as a leader, you got to take the first step.
It falls to the position of power.
Yes, agreed. Exactly.
Though from the player's side, they think they have the power. I remember those days from the couple of NFL strikes I went through. The players, we are the game. All of a sudden, there's some rich guy going, well, we'll just move along without you. Yeah. That's just fine. Next up, I have a hard time dealing with this one, and this is something I'm kind of curious your thoughts on this, but the whole Bill Cosby thing, the guy that growing up, a huge percentage of this country, he was like America's dad and everything with the Cosby Show. And now he has admitted, on videotaped deposition, what he did. Yeah. Feeding women Quaaludes and taking advantage of them. And what drove me a little bit nuts was this article that came out arguing that, no, it's not. I mean, it's consent, I mean, should he spend the rest of his life behind bars? Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, he's 79 years old and he's up, the counts against him would give him about a 30-year sentence. So
It's crazy. It's absolutely. This is insane that we're even. I mean, whoever wrote this, I mean, say goodbye to your career. I can't even imagine what their editor was thinking when they put this out there. I mean, it certainly probably sold or got a lot of clicks.
It's called clickbait.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a horrible, horrible opinion because they like the Cosby Show. And I read a little bit of the quotes there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's a sick man.
Yeah.
His legacy is destroyed.
Next up on our list, very well-known athlete worldwide in the real football, all people to proper football,
Yes.
they will tell you. Americans call it soccer. But Ronaldo has had a little bit of tax problem. That's 15. There's our cipher. We did the gazintas, and 15 million euros is equal to U.S. dollars, almost $16.5 million. My only comment to that when I see it is, how do you lose track of that? Even as much money as this dude's making, because he's probably making,
he's killing it.
Yeah, I mean, the tax rates over there are a little bit different than our tax rates, too. I mean, it can be upwards between 50 and 80%.
That is ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. Thank you. I'll tell you, I mean, I got to imagine when you're at the level of income he's at and you're as good as he is and all the things you've going on, he's got to have somebody that's in charge of this aspect of his life that helps him out. And I think he got some really bad advice somewhere along the road. Somebody told him he could deduct or he could do something. And he listened to him.
There's got to be a briefcase of money, cash involved here somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't lose track of $16 million.
No. I mean, it's unbelievable how often this happens. I mean, what do we send? We sent Wesley Snipes to jail for far a lot less than that.
Oh, that's true. That's true. And you want to mess with the government, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But good luck to him. $16 million.
Damn.
Hey, next up is... Everyone is. There's few things that we all agree on. The current despot in North Korea, he of the latest of the family, crazy dude, and I don't think anything speaks to how crazy this dude is more than the fact that he really relates to Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
And Dennis Rodman goes over there, and this is now his second trip in some sort of a semi-unofficial diplomatic, see how things work out. And it's nuts that Otto Warmbier, the kid from Cincinnati, the student, was released.
Yeah.
Just the other day. He got home yesterday, actually.
Must have been negotiated from Rodman. He must
he's in a coma. A lot of bad things about this. Terrible guy, terrible place. But Rodman goes over there, and what happens when he lands on the ground in North Korea? You know, is he dressed up as a woman? Is he dressed up in all these crazy things? No, he's in a potcoin.com t-shirt.
I mean, talk about desperate for money.
You ever heard the term, you can't make this up?
Look, when you're not doing well financially, you wear t-shirts like that. Like, you've got no other choice. He knew he's going to have a lot of people taking pictures of him going to North Korea, and this company said, hey, look, we'll pay you a ton to wear this t-shirt. Look how ridiculous that is. Two morons.
Well, he dressed up for this one. He's got a vest and a scarf on.
Two morons. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I mean, it defies... They like to party together. What can we say?
Well, the problem is the more attention we give this guy for doing this, the more he's going to go over there. I mean, you got to think they must be doing some real weird shit. You know,
you think?
I mean, some real weird stuff together. If anything,
they're doing stuff that your boy Rogan wouldn't do.
Rogan wouldn't touch his 10-foot pole. I mean, they're doing real I mean, Rodman, from everything I've ever heard, is a real freak show.
You think? Look at him.
We got to get. But we should be using him like the Russians do to everybody, right? The Russians love blackmail, and they get people in all kinds of stuff. You know, whether it's rooms full of women and all kinds of. I mean, we should use him to get some footage of Kim Jong-un doing some really despicable stuff, and see if we could use it to blackmail this guy.
Good luck getting that out of the country.
I know.
I mean, this is a guy. This is not Rodman, the dictator that has fed relatives to packs of dogs.
Yeah. Sick human being. Yeah, what was it? The one general was falling asleep a year ago. The guy fell asleep in a meeting or something like this. He had him shot.
Yeah.
Just had him shot.
Bang.
Big firing line and shot him.
Yeah. But anyway.
How has this guy not acquired like some deadly disease yet? Yeah, good people have bad things happen to them.
Blind luck.
Yeah. I shouldn't say. That's not nice to say. Sorry, Dennis.
Yeah. All right. Hey, that'll do it for our first little segment here. We come back, we'll be joined by Jamie Dukes of Pro IV Drip Fusion, also a gentleman spent a little time in the NFL, former Florida State Seminole, and we'll talk about his company. I think it's something a lot of you are going to be interested in. All right, welcome back to Unsafe Spaces. Brian Stann, Randy Cross with you here, and joining us now, Jamie Dukes. Welcome, Jamie.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Jamie's a former, I guess you're not a former, you're a Florida State Seminole.
Once a Seminole, always a Seminole.
You are a former Falcon.
That is once a Falcon, always a Falcon.
You are a former Packer.
Once a Packer, always a Packer.
You're a former Cardinal.
Yes, I played for them.
But now, probably for people that don't know, you have a new baby.
Yes.
A new endeavor going on. Pro IV Drip Fusion. Tell us a little bit about this product and this innovation you've brought forward.
Well, what we are is I'll call ourselves a unique drug manufacturer. And the reason I mention unique is because what we have done is we've kind of harnessed micronutrients, we've harnessed synthetic drugs, and we basically created a series of therapies that target specific issues. Case in point, kind of something, Randy, you and I have been involved in, among several things, chronic pain. Here we have this country, this world for that matter, the opioid epidemic, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
That's well stated. And so what we stand is we have a drug. Well, let me rephrase that. We are working towards it being a drug. We're working towards getting our drug indication, which we hope will happen very soon. We have a drug that is non-opioid, non-steroid, and it's a chronic pain therapy. And Randy and I think we both can tell you we swear by it. You got to try it. It will change your life from standpoint as an athlete.
Yeah.
And all the things that you've done. First of all, I got to be honest with you. Now, you guys are friends, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like really friends?
Sure.
I'm trying to figure out why he's been hiding this from you all this time.
Yeah.
I mean, the spot that you could go get infused is like right down the street.
That's because he's in the state of Georgia about one day a month.
Yeah, but that
total 8 hours here, 7 hours here. 8 hours. Last 2 weeks he's been in Brazil and New Zealand.
Nice. I got to talk to you about Brazil. No, that kind of talk. No, I'm happily neutered husband. No. Neutered. Happily neutered man. Randy knows my wife Angela. He knows. We don't play there.
We're trying to get you in trouble.
Oh, no, player.
Now, so with this drug, obviously it's an IV.
Yes.
And do you have to go to a facility to get it?
Yeah, it's considered a procedure. And think of it this way. You have, you've taken an 800 milligram ibuprofen or something like that. Had a match, something like that. And I'm just going to say responsibly, and I'm air quoting, wink, wink, nod, nod. You've taken 2 in a day to go through a crisis over a 4-day period.
Yes.
Okay, so over a 4-day period, you're talking about probably 6,400 milligrams of whatever you're taking. Mm-hmm. In that same vein, to show you kind of how this technology works and the value of this technology, the whole value of it is it's reducing the impact to the body because we're going directly into the bloodstream. And so to answer your question, yes. So, this technology empowers the physician. This pulls the treatment of people out of the drug manufacturer's hands and allows, quote unquote, because we're going through the vein, it allows the physician to kind of be the Picasso. Say if you were, because we have a whole wide array of different infusions, 23 of them. We've got 20 some odd docs. Randy, we've got a lot of, what we did was we brought athletes together. We brought science together. we brought thinkers together, and we looked at approaching a paradigm. Because think about it, we've lost this battle with the environment. We just lost that, and it's not a political thing either. We've just lost the battle. The only way we can catch up, I'm talking about as humans, our bodies, is to look for a different type of intervention. This technology, to go back to my original analogy, so 6,400 milligrams in your arm, 2 pills a day for 4-day period. We'll put 1 milliliter of a certain of our drug in your arm, and it will last you the same time throughout. And Randy can kind of attest to it, because we all, all these bodies are really bad.
Oh
bodies.
yeah, and so it's healthier for you.
It is all natural.
Yep.
Non-opioid, non-steroid. I say all natural from the standpoint of part of it is there is a synthetic involved depending on what you're getting. So, for example, if you're dealing with pain, there will be a synthetic added to a formulation. If you're not dealing with pain and you're looking general hydration, you're looking for general other things, then it is specifically all natural.
Yeah. And now, how affordable is it in comparison to your typical pharmaceuticals?
Well, it's very affordable from the standpoint, and you can look at the numbers this way. So one of the things that we're going through this process, and it's an arduous process when you start talking about, first of all, it takes 7 years generally to get a drug indication, number one. If you're fast tracking, it will take 2 years, to do it with FDA, so on and so forth. But then there are special circumstances, and we fit into that special circumstance where the government, similar to what we saw with Ebola or what was the virus recently that they were talking about, where you had the kids, it really attacked mothers. Zika. In those situations, they can expedite things.
Okay.
We find ourselves now in that situation where the agencies that we're talking to, they and the FDA and how we're going about it, that they understand this is an epidemic situation, and therefore quicker action is required.
Well, one of the first things, just from an analogy standpoint, one of the first things that we discussed, Jamie and I did, was not only from our old environment, the sporting world, the number of guys that come out of the sporting world was some kind of a problem physically, which leads into some form of an opioid treatment, whether it's self-prescribed or prescribed.
Yeah.
And what's happening in the explosion, Brian's involved with Higher Heroes USA. He's the CEO and whatnot. And guys that come out, and he's always talking about the skills and having to teach the skills, the interview skills and what for these guys to get into the corporate environment, to get hired. Well, there's a huge amount of guys that are coming out of the military that have that same opioid problem.
Oh, yeah.
In order to be in these day-to-day, there's no days off, and you don't hit a pause button when you're in a conflict zone.
Yeah, whether it's chronic pain, injuries, absolutely. Opioids are a massive, massive problem. So,
but let me pick up on it if you would. We just are finalizing a deal with the Veterans Administration, and we're talking to the DOD and also the current administration. Actually, there was a briefing yesterday specifically about this because there's some problems. But when you start talking about our soldiers, the whole key to it is it needs support. It needs to me, people need people first. To guide them to technology, to guide them to an accounting program or an educational program to help them go to the next step. Because there was nothing that trained us in our previous, we all went to school and all that other kinds of, but nothing trained us for really real life after, because to me, once you get, you're off harnessed and trying to cultivate a certain skill. And the same thing with entertainers. You sing like Beyonce, there's going to be some dysfunction in some other areas that are standard that most people, it's just, there's no way you can, Britney Spears, Michael Vick, you can go down the list, Jamie Dukes, Randy Cole. There's no way we had it all right because we were working over in the corner working on that craft. And soldiers the same way. You can't have these gentlemen going out, risking their life, living a regimented life, which is, think about it, who orders anybody around in real life? I'm sorry, wives. Sorry, that's a mistake. But other than that.
Besides the obvious.
Yeah, other than that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I mean, I imagine then the long-term picture here would have these pro-IV stations on a military base where veterans can
Everywhere.
go get treatment.
Well, let's see. The thing about it, it's everywhere because it's not so much. Well, the beauty of it, and just think about it, you've seen IV.
Yeah.
You pretty much do this anywhere as long as it's clean, sterile environment. So there are many applications that we have. Let's talk about, for example, one of the applications we talked about the chronic pain, and make because this is actually the prevention for chronic pain.
What it does is it goes to the root cause. So much of what we go through, whether it's you in the UFC/MMA world, before that, military-wise, it's involved with inflammation. And if you can address that root cause from a pain standpoint, you're addressing the pain too, but you're also addressing the root cause, which is that inflammation in your neck, in your shoulders, in your joints, in your muscles.
That we wake up with every single morning.
Yeah.
Every morning.
And think about it this way, and it's true. If a person is never prescribed an opioid or exposed to an opioid, how can you get hooked?
Yeah.
So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we head off with our drug, our 2B drug. Let's say we headed off 40%, because there is a place for opioids. The problem is they're just prescribing it to everybody, and everybody doesn't need an opioid per se.
In the military, I mean, it's at a massive scale. Yeah. Massive scale. So it's just in terms, because I've lived my whole life for the past 5 years. I always tell people, they're like, well, man, are you ever going to stop working out so hard or doing this or doing that? I said, no, I'm really relying on some good stuff to be invented for when I get into my 40s so that I could feel good when I get out of bed. Just in terms of arthritis, if someone's dealing with arthritis, you're saying you could go get this drip once a week and honestly just feel that much better. And there's no long-term issues.
There's no addiction. I joke around. Our commercial that we're one of the first commercials we will run will be, because that the joke is when you watch the Zipator may cause
and anal seepage.
Exactly.
What the hell is that?
Never heard of that. Well, here is our disclaimer on the problems of what Pro IV may cause. Pro IV may cause you to.
They're nothing.
Pro IV is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's having had these, the first thing when you have them, you get hooked up to this IV and the bag and the mixture is in it. First thing you notice is, you ever take a vitamin and it sits in your mouth too long? You get that kind of real vitamin-y taste. And that's what you taste because of what's in this stuff.
Okay.
The micronutrients and the vitamins and the minerals and everything else.
But it's in your bloodstream. See, that's the thing about it. It's instantaneous, and that's the value prop of it all. And think about it. Any drug, you see 700 milligrams. You go through the blood, you can bring down the dosage exponentially, and now it's less impactful to the organ. So, for example, we have a synthetic and we use different synthetics in our pain agent. So it could cause some damage, but because of the dosage being so low, combined with what Randy was talking about, in other words, the micronutrient components of that are getting the inflammation out. Not just the inflammation at the joint level, but at the cellular level. Yeah. So the more you continue to immerse yourself into this micronutrient regimen, the more it actually, the micronutrients get down into your cellular level.
Man, you guys need to have a drive-through in Las Vegas, right on the Strip.
Yep.
I mean, forget all the serious stuff. I mean, what people are really going to start spending this on, you're going to see it like at all the country club type gyms. All these. I mean, around here,
that's the game plan.
Here in Georgia, we've got these beautiful big gyms, and they're reasonably priced. You get a little corner right there. People, hey, let me just get hydrated here, get my vitamins in.
Yeah. What in Vegas? Those are called hangover centers.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about here.
They put a bag in you and replenish your precious bodily fluids.
I mean, I could see all the MMA fans, doing a commercial. Like last year, I enjoyed Vegas, but this year I was able to go twice as hard. Drip IV,
Pro IV,
Pro IV. Hey, instead of going to the hospital, get your stomach pumped. Come on down the street.
I will tell you this though, and not that we are bragging about this at all. We were voted in Decibel magazine, big magazine here in town. We actually were voted the top infusion for that.
Really?
Yes, we were about a month ago. Yeah. So it's real. And what's funny about it is, and the beauty of it to me also is, it's just common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really common sense. We've all taken micronutrients or vitamins all of our lives for some reason. And we said, they say it's going to help you in these different areas. And then when you start looking at all of the different disease states that we are really some screwed up people. And I don't mean that mentally. I mean, just, we are living with pain. Joe, one of our buddies and our partner, he's talking about, he's got a little military background, and he didn't feel he had chronic pain until he started taking this and realizing,
oh, so this is how I should feel.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Well, I'm looking forward to trying it. I think probably a lot of the listeners, the question in their mind is like, man, sounds good. Probably a lot of people are listening saying, you know what, I'm not going to be able to afford this. I bet this is going to be too expensive.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
we have infusions in this space as low as $200 for somebody, and there is a process. To understand, this product is being utilized across the country now. It's just starting. This technology. We are literally just rolling it out in real time. And the truth of the matter is, we didn't really want to roll it out now because it's in its liquid form. There are shelf life issues, Okay. And so you have to concern yourself with that. So there's a technology that you see out there. They call it lyophilization, freeze dry, effectively. That's what we ultimately were planning on rolling out. So that way it eliminates, number one, from a mixing perspective, it reduces the mixing time by 90%. From a shelf life perspective, it removes the shelf life issue. So hospitals, physicians' offices, they can have the product and not have to concern themselves with trying to, obviously you want to stay on top of the inventory, but they got enough stuff to kind of be worried about. So we're trying to create, quote unquote, the perfect solution.
Yeah.
And in this lyophilized form, that is the perfect solution.
And that can drive down the cost?
No, actually, unfortunately, it would drive the cost up a little bit just because, but the savings overall, and when you start talking about government, there are savings in certain areas that aren't a dollar transaction. In other words, how much value is it to now go to take away or remove the issue of shelf life? Mm-hmm. How much value is in it to now not have to have people attached to following how long the product was there, or even 10% mixing time.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That there are different things that go into the price point, but even then, at the end of the day, it still is actually offering a savings to the government.
I have a question from our old worlds.
Yes.
And also from a corporate standpoint. People are tested on a regular basis.
Yep.
It's rarely a pop-up test.
Yep.
So you have a little while to prepare for it in cases. Mm-hmm. But does this trip anything?
No, because it goes back to the only synthetic that is in the therapy is designed for pain. So it's not a performance enhancer at all. It is a common pain agent that is just basically, that's being prescribed. We're just putting it in a more direct form.
Well, see, because in MMA, there's no prep now. They've got USADA does a drug testing, and someone knocks on your door 5 a.m, 6 a.m, or
now
9 p.m, and here you go.
Well, I was referring mainly on the corporate side.
Oh yeah, on the corporate side. But I'd be interested because obviously in the fighting world, we have to spend a lot of money on our diets to reduce inflammation. So I would have to take out as much gluten as possible. One, because I've got to cut weight and get skinny to make the weight for my fight. But most importantly, how do I keep inflammation out? Because I'm training 2 to 3 times every day. Yep. You're talking anywhere from 14 to 20 training sessions in a week, getting punched in the face, kicked, elbowed, the whole 9. Your body feels awful. The inflammation every day is
and you
so
know what?
high.
It should. If it doesn't, you're not doing it right.
Yes.
That's not what we're supposed to be doing with it.
But if you're talking where you could pay $200 a week and take a lot of that away, or can insurance cover? I guess you got to get the prescription.
This goes back to the process.
Yeah.
So again, there's the 200 we're talking about is a pay for it. It's really more of a pilot just to get people exposed to it.
Yeah.
But I would say it to you this way. Part of the whole process is you have to deal with what they call CMS. Part of Health and Human Services is one of their divisions. They handle Medicare, Medicaid.
Yep.
The insurers and all of that stuff fall under that as well. Insurance companies, what I mean by insurers. So we are working through that process. actually the elements in their individual subset are actually covered by insurance. You just have to, and they have what they call J codes, not to get too specific, but they're codes that the doctor would prescribe. And candidly, so for us, but they're all in the individual components.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is basically just because there's nothing like this on earth. You know, we joke all around. I say, you know, we have the only cell phone on the planet as it pertains to treating chronic pain with a non-opioid and a non-steroid solution. You know, our athletes, you know, Brett Favre, he loves it. Mike Vick was talking about, he felt like he was 22. He's played a Wounded Warrior game for us at the Super Bowl. So we have a ton of support. Ray Farmer, the former general manager of the Cleveland Browns, is actually president of Pro IV. Right. And so he is, and Ray, what we love about him is Ray's always been a technology guy. I can't wait till people see the concussion app that he's designed, that we're going to put into the marketplace. And I mean the marketplace as in, right now it's the wild, wild west when it comes to concussions. I'm talking about the high school level.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we know about the pro and we know about your game. Yeah. You know, and so.
But it's still wild, wild west in our game.
Yes.
You just see us get them live.
When it comes to concussions, everything is what I always refer to as a swag.
Yeah.
A sophisticated, wild-ass guess.
Swag, a little different swag in my neighborhood, but nonetheless, swag, you know, just goes to show you swag has meaning for everybody.
That's right.
Has meaning for everybody. But on the insurance side of things, it's going to be covered by insurance soon, because that's the whole point of it. And some insurers are actually covering it right now. We want to clean it all up for the doctors and just basically say, hey, here is our drug. Mm-hmm. Take this and insert this. That's why, if you think about it, and this is what I think we're getting the folks that we're talking about in government to kind of see. They find it hard to believe, but just walk through it. I believe, it is our belief, that we could make a significant dent into the opioid epidemic before the year's over. And that's a big statement, right?
Wow.
But let me tell you how. Okay, so in the cities, we have hospitals, right? Mm-hmm. And we have doctors, right? Okay.
We do. Mm-hmm.
So all we're doing is dropping our little, where's my little water? All we're doing is inserting our liquid aspirin for chronic pain into the paradigm. Right now, most docs they bill Medicare, Medicaid right now for their patients. The intake is already covered. Let's blur this conversation to go back to something you're talking about when you're talking about cutting weight. Yeah. One of the true virtues of this technology is it's designed for everybody to have their own mix. Mm-hmm. We start with a base formulation, but we look at the blood. And we look at the blood to see where people are deficient in the situation. So everybody here has done labs with their doc. So my point is, all of the pieces of the paradigm, nurses do IVs every day. Mm-hmm. IV, is the safest medical discipline we have. So the only thing, and I know it's a drawn-out story, but I'm just showing, the only thing that is new to the paradigm will be this little product right here, this little therapy, this modality right here. So everything is already ready. So how do we handle it in the rural areas? How we handle that? We got acute care facilities in the rural areas. We got places like these Walmart service, these Walmart ready centers. Where you can do anything in there. CVS. All these folks have pharmacies. So the places are there, and once again, so in those particular places, you just send nurses in. Mm-hmm. But the facilities there, the acute care facilities, they got nurses. Yeah. So literally, the solution, I know, and this is the thing about it, again, because I'm not a politician and I'm not,
and you're fairly biased.
Yes, yeah, but even then, it's anything, you're still just dropping it in.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we could do this anywhere.
Well, and here's the thing, though. When you've got a problem as substantial as we have with the opioids, you need innovation. You need people out there that are one step ahead of the game. You need the Elon Musks of the world to be finding solutions to make our lives better. I mean, I
played with Eli in high school, man. Had a great jump shot. He was a little slow, Oh, that's a different Eli.
Elon.
Oh, I thought it was Eli. Yeah, I played with Eli. My bad. Go ahead, man. That was profound. Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
If you just stick around, we're gonna do a little news type stuff of the day. I'd love to get your thoughts.
We definitely gotta get your opinion on these.
On some of this stuff. Just kind of, I don't know, we call it real world news. The first one, Jamie, did you see that New England Patriots recently got their first Super Bowl, or got their 5th Super Bowl rings presented to them?
I heard about that at Kraft's place.
At his house, had the whole team.
Back up.
That's when you know you got a pretty good sized crib.
So stop right there.
When you can have the organization to your house.
Yes, come on over, guys.
Yes, to the house, and then you all bring a date. And initially when the release went out, it kind of went over people's head that there were 283 diamonds in this ring, and all of a sudden somebody out there went 283. It's 28-3 again. For all you Falcon fans,
I would love for Kraft to send one to Shanahan,
thanking him.
Yeah, I'd love to. And just with a little card on there says, "Run the damn ball."
Couldn't have done this without you.
That's still one of the amazing things. But to me, that's also a lesson learned. And I want to back up to you.
For the sake of my San Francisco 49ers, I hope so.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, though. Okay, at what point, because you were there for Joe.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all of Joe.
Good bit.
Now, Joe was a great player all the time, but Joe wasn't Joe to what year? Year 6, 7, 4, 5?
3.
So then that's where Joe. So at year 3, Joe would have said, "Bill, I saw something I didn't like. I ran the ball." Because that was the thing to me, that you got Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, brilliant quarterback.
Yeah.
Now Matt Ryan, $25 million per, going to be probably the first $30 million quarterback. Okay. There comes a time when you have to. Good call, coach. I'm not running that. You with me? And so, and that's why I'm wondering where in Joe's paradigm with Bill did that point come, if ever? Because see, that's a different point than being the guy.
About 84.
How many years in was that?
That was about 6.
So he's 6. So you see what I'm saying? So and that to me, for Matt, if I'm Matt Ryan, my one piece of advice to Matt Ryan is this: don't ever let anybody let you feel the way you felt after that again.
Oh.
You do everything you can because he's the guy in control. The coach ain't in control. He's in control.
That's my point. And I was talking to Warwick Dunn the other day, one of your former Seminole buddies. I was talking to Warwick Dunn the other day about that experience and making an analogy. In 80,
he didn't know anything about the experience, but he was just as a voyeur.
Oh no, we never lost any Super Bowls.
Yes, right. See,
until these wannabe newbie guys got into one. In 83, we lost the NFC Championship game to the Redskins in Washington over, they think they were great calls. We say they were terrible calls. But we got beat by a field goal and didn't go to the Super Bowl, and they promptly laid an egg against the Raiders, and the Raiders beat them. That was the Marcus Allen, Jim Plunkett, great Super Bowl down in Tampa. But that was a motivator every single day till we got a chance to get back there again. And we won that championship game after the 84 season, 23-0 against Chicago. We were obsessed with erasing that, getting that taste out of our mouth. And hopefully that's how the Falcons react to this, that it's something that will motivate them the entire year.
I got a lot of faith in Dan Quinn. I've had an opportunity to spend some legitimate time with him, and I've been around elite level leaders from my time in the Marine Corps. Obviously, my time working with John Bardis, who's an elite level leader, and Dan Quinn is on that level. He's the way he thinks. He is a servant leader where he thinks about the guys first. I remember having a meeting with him in his office. Like, let's go down by the guys. He always wants to be around the players. He always wants to interact with the players and genuinely shows them how much he cares through his effort, his hard work, his attention, his focus on them. So I've got a lot of faith in him. I don't know what the insider perspective is. I mean, I didn't play pro ball.
What you see, but see, think about it. Leadership shines. The tenets of leadership They stay the same. You know, leader when you see one.
yeah.
You know, he is a special guy, and I've seen a lot of coaches, and I realize that the first set of cards he was dealt weren't necessarily, you know, from a roster perspective, weren't necessarily the best. But he was able to make do, and he was able to make an inferior roster believe in itself.
Yes.
To where they competed, and then the GM. You know, and the rest of the front office, they began to bring the kind of players that he was looking for, and all of a sudden now you got linebackers with speed. All of a sudden, where the hell are you from? You know what I mean? So he got them out.
In a live action venue, it's all about a great leader. It's about adjust. It's about adapt. It's about innovate.
And one of your Seminoles.
And you got to be able to do it on the run. Speaking of adapting, that's a genetic adaptation that Brady had that sixth finger.
And I'm not surprised. Only a guy is great as Brady can just grow a sixth finger so he has more room for rings, you know?
This is going to kill my wife.
Yeah. And adding another ring?
No, she just can't stand Brady.
Really? She's the only woman on earth.
I think Tom Brady may be the greatest athlete of all time.
He's got to be up there.
And I'm not saying, to me, athleticism sometimes can be misleading because he can't, he can't.
Oh, yeah. His combine performance is for the ages.
And you look at
I was going to say, you have seen his pictures. Right?
Yes, I have. Yeah. But I see, the reason I say that is because you know how tough this game is.
He looked like one of Jerry's kids when he came out of Michigan.
Yeah. No, he still run like, matter of fact, he's slower than that, too.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know how tough it is, number one, to play that position. And to be able to, I liken it this way. So I played 10 years in the league. Mm-hmm. And Tom has now played in 13. Is that right? 13 AFC championship games?
I think a dozen.
No, it's more. No, it's 13.
Is it 13?
This was the 13. That's more than my entire career in the AFC championship game. How many NFC championship games you playing, Randy?
5.
This is a 3-time Super Bowl winner.
Four.
This mofo has played in 13 AFC championship games and won 7 of 8. 7 or 8. Now 8. How many? 5 rings to 7?
He's lost 2.
2 and won 5. He almost has been to more Super Bowls than I played in the whole league my whole life. Do you understand? And I understand
it's
Jordan.
Wild. It's wild.
I understand Jordan with the rocker dunks and all that stuff, and Jordan's the great. I mean, I get that all.
But I will make the argument that it's one of those perfect marriages.
Yeah,
because he didn't squat without Belichick.
Well, but I don't know what Joe would be.
He's just another quarterback. By the same token, that's the same marriage as Bradshaw, that defense, Chuck Noll. Go down the list. So you've got to say that there has never been in football, a quarterback, a running back, anybody that's won a championship because of just them.
Well, yeah, but and you're right.
It's a team. It's a team.
No, it is a team thing. But there are some. I would say it this way.
Yeah.
There are some general things you give because, in other words, the game has its own dynamics.
Yes.
Boxing has its own dynamic. Everything has its own dynamic. In the dynamics that football has, I look because just so you understand, I feel like I'm gonna cough up a hairball because I'm a Montana guy.
Yeah.
No, you know what I'm saying? I'm a Joe Montana guy. But I when I look through that prism, because here's the other thing: when you look at who's done more with less, it ain't even close. They always had a number one defense. Always.
Yep. We were close.
Always.
Yeah.
I don't even
You
know.
were number one in some. Always.
I don't know who he's even throwing the ball to each year.
Correct.
I mean, who were those receivers?
Yeah.
And I'm an Eagles fan. I mean, you want to talk about bad receivers, man. I mean, it's a tough life.
Now I see why they didn't come out.
It's a tough life.
I'm a lot more basic when it comes to that. And people ask me about that comparison between Brady and Montana. I just let's go over a short list of the number of Super Bowl games he didn't ball up in.
That's correct.
Because last time I checked, the other guys lost him.
Yeah.
So he's got a different point of reference.
No doubt about it.
But I think it's still a different point of reference.
It is. Well, I'm with you.
I'm a Joe guy.
But it's a different era.
See,
that's what I get into.
Fair enough.
That's what I get into all the time with people. That's like in hoops these days.
Fair enough.
People talking about, what do you want? What's more important to you? Do you want a super team? Or do you want a transformative organization?
Yeah.
And because A, you can do with a checkbook. B is going to take some real serious commitment.
Yeah.
And that's what you got with the Patriots.
Well, but it's also the right people. Commitment and the right people.
That's what I mean.
Yes,
It's the organizational approach to how things build.
You can't argue anybody to be the greatest athlete ever and not be able to point to coaches, other players around them, and a lot of situational things that went right for them. I tend to have this kind of sustained excellence and greatness is so difficult.
Well, that's what's great about your sport, though. You know, the art of fighting in whatever genre we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's nobody else to blame once you.
Oh no, no.
Once you get out of that ring,
and we all know that there is an ass kicking just waiting around the corner. It doesn't matter where you are in your career; it's coming for you. It's just you give it time, and it's there. And generally now, with how good the athletes are now, and it continues to escalate so quickly. I mean, people you don't go undefeated. It's hard if you can win 2 out of 3 fights a year. You're excellent. You're world class. There's just so many different ways to lose. When you're wearing 4-ounce gloves, I mean, you could have a really inferior fighter win a fight just because they catch you with that right punch and you get knocked out.
Yeah.
You know.
I've got a question. We're talking about organizations. We're talking about leadership. I don't know how much you guys have seen about what's gone on with the company that's about as cutting edge as you can get from a technology standpoint. Or I need it now and I want it now.
Yeah.
Uber.
Oh yeah.
And what they've been doing.
Wow.
And they're leaking leadership. And this is a company that was built. I mean, it's a billion company and one of the great ideas of all time, but it's being exposed that sort of their foundation is weak.
Yeah. Well, and it starts with this guy. Every organization, team, or group will take on the personality of its leadership. And in everything I've read about this guy, I mean, they had to get a chief of staff or like a number 2 guy just to buffer him because his personality was so big, raunchy, and raw that it was a problem.
Yeah.
And go figure, the company is rife with or just loaded with sexual harassment in general, and that type of personality, it starts right here. And that's why he's taking a leave of absence, as he should.
You know, as a corporate leader in America these days, when part of the headline is you foster a bro culture.
Wow.
I couldn't even find anywhere to look that up.
Yeah.
But I took that as not a good thing.
Not a good. But but think about this, and I think sometimes we mistake. Genius does not necessarily translate into morality. You could go down the list.
Working well with others.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oftentimes it does not.
Well,
you look throughout our history, there's plenty of genius.
Yes.
Like we start reading, Ben Franklin had this, you know.
Yeah. Right.
He liked to do what?
He like, what?
With who? and I'll even say it, taking you a step further. You remember Fantasia from She Won American Idol? I
Yes.
think it was.
Yeah.
So
it was also a Disney movie, by the way.
Loved it too.
Long time ago.
Long time ago. How are you on the remake of The Beauty and the Beast? Have you seen it
Strong.
yet?
I watched it twice last week with my wife.
Really? Good. Love that.
Once because I liked it, and once because I love her.
Okay.
Yeah.
That all works well. But the thing that Fantasia... So
Hold on.
Yeah.
Was there a grandchild involved here?
2 grown adults.
Get the hell out of here. That's when you know you're secure in your manhood. You got a couple of 3 Super Bowl rings on the... Y'all watch Beauty and Beast all I want. What the hell are you going to do
That's
about
right.
it?
And I liked it.
That's right. Felt good about it. Yeah. But the thing about it though is she said something that was really profound for me because at the time we were at the Essence Festival, which is coming up again, and so she was going through a real messy personal. She dated some guy at a cell phone store who was married, ruined his marriage, one of those kind of things. So everybody was just killing her in the
Messed
media.
up her free cell phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Took out the codes and all that stuff.
Damn.
But she said this, she said one of the things that you guys don't understand, and as she's on the stage, she said, I'm just like every one of you. I just can sing. And it's the same thing, whether it be with athletes, CEOs, executives, whoever.
Politician,
they just have a unique gift or talent that puts them in a certain place. But certainly that does not mean that they're not, impervious to the same frailties and things and
Still
generational
flawed.
curses that we all have. And so that's the one thing that I remembered about. I say to people, how could Fantasia give you something? Everybody can give you something memorable. My wife's got a good one. And this is translate too, because I always take something from people. Messy on the way in, messy on the way out. Not scientific, but think about it. Somebody who's always got something going on, always got something going on. So it might start with, something going on. Same thing with a marriage or whatever, If you started, you took somebody from such and such a situation, chances are your thing's going to end up the same way.
Yep.
It just always works that way. So that's one of the Angela Socrates Dukes' idioms.
Oh, I love the spouse nicknames.
Hey, next little story up. U.S. Open. Jamie, you're just getting back into golf.
Yes.
Brian's too busy.
Yes.
For golf.
I'm terrible.
Can't be bothered. He prefers stuff he can hit back at.
Yes.
Understood.
That's always been my story.
That's moving.
Yeah. But
Like that kangaroo down under, that kangaroo. Remember, you saw the picture, the video of the kangaroo. The guy had his dog.
Oh, yeah.
I know you saw it. Have you seen that?
The guy was boxing with a kangaroo. And hit him
Punched
with
the
a right.
kangaroo.
I didn't see it.
Oh, you got
That's great.
Oh,
That's
this
great.
is priceless. Go ahead.
That's
I'm
great.
sorry.
But the U.S. Open is at Erin Hills in Minnesota, and they're excited.
Super Bowl
And one of the things they're most excited about showing off of their state is their cuisine, if you will. They've got a menu that will, I don't know if it'll knock your socks off, but it will clog your heart. Jamie, you were up there in Green Bay. You know that you can find a brat in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you know?
Yeah.
Look at the peppers on that. Now you got to fry it.
Ooh, yeah.
So you got that. That's a cheese curd cheeseburger.
Cheddar, that's American cheese.
There's a
yeah.
bratwurst burger.
Yeah. Wow.
So, some of these don't look quite as apt. Now, this one's not bad. I got to say, the Italian combo's got my vote of confidence here.
That looks all right.
Real vote of confidence right there. Look at that.
Yeah, I hope they have the defibrillator paddles out there on the golf course.
There's a lot of healthy stuff in there. You saw the vegetables and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Some meat. I saw
coated in cheese.
Yeah, there was a lot of healthy stuff in there.
God, yeah.
Don't go light on the mayo.
That'll be
right.
all week long. Yeah, light on the mayo.
Easy.
Hey, last story, and this is something you'll be
Really pertains to Jamie.
Yeah, he'll really appreciate this.
It's an obesity story.
No. Science is a wonderful thing.
Yes, okay.
Science can be a strange thing at times
Yes.
too. They have figured out a way for people that are very pale skinned,
Right.
to get a tan.
Really?
There's now a pill, a drug you can take that will enable you to tan.
You've been waiting for this, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've waiting for
All
this.
my life.
You could darken up just a freckle.
I don't think there's gold blurple. No, there are a few shades. That's true. No, I do. There are several shades darker. But you go blue and then you go. That's like heat. You get white hot heat. That's the hottest heat. When you get out too much of the sun, you go blurple. That's the darkest texture you can have. After
See,
that.
my problem is I am either this color or I'm the color of this wall right here. I get maroon. Tan for me is maroon.
Maroon.
It's the best I got. My wife complains about it all the time. Like, hey, get some sun. You're so white. So I go out, I get some sun, I turn maroon. So
Well, as a Southern California guy, I spent a lot of years out in the sun, and I've got the sun spots and stuff but I'm of the opinion now, I would take one of these pills, just because I'm still going to sit under that umbrella and read or do what else,
man,
and I'm not going to lay out. I'm going to
Yeah.
stay in the shade, and then be able
Then
to
get
still
upset.
get color. That would work for me. Because I don't go out on my way to hurt anymore. I don't know about you guys, but it freaking hurts to get a tan because you got to get fried.
I 70 up, man. I look like a charcoal briquette when I'm finished. Because I'm not a beach guy person. My wife loves the beach. She just loves laying out and tanning and all that kind of stuff. I just sit out there and sweat and baste. So I look at that as like my workout.
yeah,
Because you're just gonna sit there and
just sweat.
all right, Lord, help me melt off about 4 more pounds. You can do that for me. I appreciate that.
You said you 70 up. You put lotion on?
Block.
Block.
Yeah, so you don't peel. Because you got to stop. You gotta
he may
protect the skin from peeling.
not burn, but he
Right.
will sizzle.
I will. That's correct. You ever peeled an onion?
He'll bubble up on you.
You peel an onion. It's the same color underneath, but it's still peeling. That'd be a black onion, but a very rare breed from the cannabis oil.
Let's move into a little different category here, sort of as we wind down here for the show. And I just had one story that's in our deal here. Now, here's a unique defense, and it comes out of the state of Idaho. It comes out of one of the great retailers in America. Walmart was the victim of this particular case.
Walmart and victim. You never hear that often.
Well, actually, they are, because when you steal from a store, they are the victim. And this woman was caught shoplifting in Idaho at a Walmart. And look at her excuse.
Nice.
She was studying kleptomania. She was using it as a abject lesson.
Nice.
In-depth research.
But don't you think you let that person off? You let them know, don't do this again. But when you have that kind of creativity,
yeah.
I mean, because Will Smith, true story.
I'm also guessing she doesn't tan real easy.
Well, she needs to be on that what's that pill commercial with Britney Spears and the they got a couple things need to be touched up. She should have been stealing skin products. And if she was stealing products,
you never know. She might have been.
Yeah, so
hold on, before you do this mugshot, can I put some cover up on, please?
Exactly.
No, but Will Smith, for Focus, he actually got with a thief, and he literally was stealing from people. The thief taught him, and because he had to steal from.
Oh, he's a method actor.
He was for that movie Focus that he did with that.
I really enjoyed that movie, by the way.
Yeah, it was very good.
And I always wonder, can somebody really take
Margot
my watch off?
Margot Robbie, by the way, is her name.
Yeah, she's willing. Like her.
It was a good movie.
No,
great movie.
He
was out. How the hell is Will Smith? He's so famous. Who's he stealing from?
He was able to literally, and because I was watching, they do the trailers and all the stuff, the talk about it.
Yeah.
No, he was walking up to people, but the thing is, think about it. If you're in close proximity, you're Will Smith.
Yeah.
Try these techniques out.
I saw the other day on Twitter about a week ago, there was a actual taxi driver license, a hack license from Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
And he drove taxis for a few weeks
for that movie.
Before
did he do?
Taxi Driver. Before he did that movie, and my dad was an actor, and that was sort of the real back in the day. That was kind of there were method people that really got into what it is you're supposed to be portraying, and then there was the ones that didn't quite dabble as much.
Now all time
like Heath Ledger. Mm-hmm. Heath Ledger had some real personal demons. And for a guy like that, that's probably not always a good thing to be and he got so obsessed in that whole role.
Well, the greatest
of the Joker
method story though is Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton in Monsters Ball, because the report is, and I'll just say it that way because we got it on pretty good sourcing, and that they actually screwed, and Billy was killing it. And so think about her husband. Holly, it was, from what I've been told, it was at her insistence that they have the sex during those scenes live. So this is a true story. This is true.
In front of a crew?
This is true. This is what they reported.
And she's married.
To this guy, Benet dude. That's the report that was out there, that they had real sex, and that's part of the reason why that relationship didn't necessarily go so.
Yeah.
But
I'm wondering if they're still together.
Look that story up, and again, that's what's been reported.
Yeah,
that's method acting, right?
That's method. Yeah. Billy Bob, sorry you had to work so hard on that.
That's also a good way to get rid of approximately 50% of your holdings. Especially if you be the
That
owner.
is the report that is out there, is what I've seen and been told.
I still can't get over the fact that Will Smith's out there stealing from people. I mean, I'm amazed he didn't get knocked out. You try to steal my wallet.
But how do you know?
How do you know?
And if you get caught, then you go, man, I was trying to work on this movie.
He's getting taught by the best.
Oh, and that's fine. He's going to tell me that after he wakes up. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I have my wallet back. Why were you stealing?
You're going to give him, because there's a what the you doing first? I know that coming out. I know that's coming out of you.
I agree.
First.
Have you ever had a sleight of hand type do anything with you?
I had not, but
I had
also
a guy
assume...
get my money clip and my watch off my arm. It was at the time it was a Rolex President. He took my watch off and got my money clip, and I had no idea.
No shit. See, that's what I wonder when I watched that movie.
We got done. I was talking about all that stuff, and I said, you have to forgive me if I'm a little skeptical about this working. He goes, does this help at all? He holds up my money clip and my watch. I was like,
yo, I don't know if I'm giving him that. If I feel my wallet taken and I look and I see you and you're walking away, I mean, the grab and the strike is probably coming before.
No, but they would have. No, but you would have in that situation. Because just think if we're all sitting here and I get it, and you all of a sudden you say I get it. You go, Deuce, what the you doing? You're gonna say that first before whatever.
Oh, if he shows it to
not if he shows it. If you say, did you just take my wallet? You're gonna confirm or something. Did you? You're gonna give him. There's just that. There's that kind of gentleman.
And then he takes his disguise off. It's a surprise. It's me.
If you were in Kuwait, that's a different story. That's a different you. But the you that's right now, there's gonna be just a little bit of yak, and by that time, trust me, Will would have been able to get.
In his personality, of course,
he would have been moonwalking back away from you while he was telling you.
That takes a lot of. That takes some stones.
Yeah,
to do that. To get ready for a movie, I'm impressed. I got to research more about it because I really thought it was an underrated movie.
When you have a moment, Google method acting.
Yeah,
and read into some of the
of the
cases that they'll put.
You brought up the Heath Ledger, and I read where I think it was Jack Nicholson warned him about doing that role.
Yeah,
warned him about it.
Because he had the same problem. He's the same kind of actor.
Deep story there.
Yeah.
Did he say he struggled from his original?
Because it was
the Batman with the Prince.
Adam West. Yeah. Adam West, God bless his soul, died about a week ago here, 88 years old. The original Batman, and that was all campy.
Right.
Larger than it was all like it was of the time. But they couldn't get too dark with it. But the actual, there's a reason that character's name was the Dark Knight because it's so conflicted and everything else. So, but that's the whole idea is that it's where you're going in a place from a method acting standpoint. You got to get down into that dark place. Yeah. They like to.
Yeah, and the real Joker character is sick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very sick. Yeah. Very sick. Hey, we're getting towards the end here. Both of you guys are fathers. How are you spending Father's Day?
I sent my wife. She's going to Miami with her sister and two cousins for a weekend off because she's had the kids by herself for the last 3 weeks.
And you're watching the kids?
And I've got all three little girls to myself the whole weekend. Nice. So I'm going to try to relax, go to the pool a little bit.
It's on demand. I recommend Beauty and the Beast.
We already saw it twice.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in.
I got to go check it out. I got to still go see Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet either.
Ooh, maybe I'll take him to see that.
Going downtown, actually, because birthday was yesterday. How about this? The president and I share the same birthday.
There you go.
How ironic is that? But also, so we're going to go downtown, and because on my little chalet that you know about, we won't be spending holiday on my little chalet.
Good for you. Yeah. Good for you. That would be perfect. I'm just going to have the kids over. It was,
everybody coming in.
I'm that typical. Well, not Kelly and Dirk and Charlie will still be up in D.C. Okay. But they sent in I don't know what it is, but I actually got a present in the mail. Okay. So I've got that going for me, which is nice.
Yeah, always nice.
Brendan and Crystal and do a barbecue and just have fun. Yeah. Just chill out the way Father's Day should be. Yeah. Yes. And it's a holiday. We've had this conversation before, but it's a holiday I think should be recognized along with Mother's Day, but as a bigger deal. There's so many, but there's so many parts of our community.
No, you're right.
That the whole Father's Day,
it could help.
If you could put more of a positive emphasis, whether it's Father/Mentors Day or whatever, however you would adjust it, because that's what's missing out of a huge percentage of our communities out there, whichever community, insert one here, where the real male figures just aren't around.
Yeah.
And the male figures having to change a little bit too, just because of the day we're in. It's like because when I was growing up, I hate to go back to all of that. The parent in general helped, like my neighbor, there was some help that was allowed. Now we're all straight silo. Don't talk to my child. Don't look too hard at my child. And so, there was a neighbor or something like that. Randy, now, Daddy, your dad wouldn't want you doing, and they didn't hit you, they didn't harm you. Now you can't say anything to anybody.
No.
So the whole dynamic of, and I'm echoing your point. I agree with you that I hate to use the word faux importance, but I think you have to kind of, to change the paradigm, you might have to create a more faux importance of Father's Day, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it's the whole idea of, to coin a phrase that somebody used PR-wise that I'm not a big fan of, but it takes a village to raise a child. Which is recognized as a truth. But nowadays, it takes a village to raise a child as long as they all sign the releases.
That's correct. The children sign the releases. Yes, that is correct. Can I look at your medical records? Yeah, I know you're 7. Is it all right? I just need power of attorney.
Hey, Jamie, thanks, man.
Oh,
appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
Got to do it again, man.
It's good to have you on. Everybody out there, have a great Father's Day.
Yes.
I want to remind you, social media-wise, get us on Twitter, Unsafe Spaces USA. Facebook, same one, Unsafe Spaces USA. You'll see this on YouTube. It'll be out. SoundCloud, everything else. And the end of our show, Jamie means happy trails.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about